Good morning. We are live. It is Monday, March 24th. Thank you so much for joining us for the KCM Deep Dive. My name is Kate Rezebeck, and I'm thrilled to be here with y'all this morning. Starting our week off with the most important topics in the housing market. Thank you to all of you who come back week after week. We love seeing you here on the Deep Dive with us. Know how important it is to be able to be here with you. And of course, if you're new to the deep dive today, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I've got a lot of slides that I'm going to share, some really great visuals to help you have the best conversations you possibly can right now. If you're a KCM member, you're going to be able to find those, as always, in the member area. If you are not a KCM member, trykcm.com is the place to go to get that information. Because here's the thing, spring has sprung. It is officially spring. We are getting into that spring market, and we're going to be talking about four of the biggest things that you need to be sharing with your clients about the spring market, four things to expect. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it today. I'm going to share some slides with you. We're going to take a look at those four key things. I think to set the stage for what we're going to talk about, what you need to be talking about with your clients, it's that inventory is rising. We are seeing prices moderate. We are seeing mortgage rates stabilizing, and we're going to sell some more homes this year, more than last year. We're seeing buyers come back into the market. So all of these are really positive notes for what's happening this spring, and I want to make sure you're equipped with everything you need to be talking about it. So let's go ahead and we will start with this quote right here from Jessica Lautz at NAR. She says, home buyers are in a favorable position as they encounter more inventory and improve rates ahead of the spring rush. I think that's definitely what we've seen over the past few weeks. It's a great indicator of what's ahead. We're going to see some more improved conditions for certain. We're totally not out of the woods yet. It's still a seller's market. We've got inventory that's rising, but still definitely tight, keeping upward pressure on prices. But we are definitely seeing some nods to some more positive signs for the spring of 2025. And here's what's kind of cool about this. We hear this from a lot of economists that we follow, but it's not just the economists that are saying this. Agents are saying this too. And as you know, we do a survey each month where we partner with John Burns Real Estate Consulting, and we survey over 1,000 agents every month. And this past month, in the beginning of March, we asked agents, what are the top factors you think will positively impact the housing market this spring? Number one thing, 2 out of 3 agents are saying stability in mortgage rates is going to be really good for those buyers who are looking to buy, for those sellers who are looking to potentially move up, downsize. There's so many opportunities that are coming into this market right now. And we're going to talk about those today. We heard agents say that more sellers listing their homes, increasing supply is going to be really good for this market, more motivated buyers, all of those different things, moderation in prices. We're getting that nod to here's what's ahead. And I'm really excited to share that with you today. And of course, if you want to be part of this survey, don't forget that you have the opportunity to have your voice in this survey. Before we dive into what those four key things are, feel free to grab this QR code and register to be a part of the survey every month so you can tell us what's happening in your local market. It impacts our research, it impacts our content. Like, this is such a valuable way for you to be part of the conversation, and we certainly want to hear from you. So if you scan this code and sign up to be a part of that survey, you'll be involved in the one coming up in April. And if you've done it before, you're on the list and you know it's coming. So thank you for the input that you always give us in this. All right, so let's talk about this spring market. Number one thing I want to talk about is that inventory is rising. So there are more homes for sale than in recent years. We're seeing active listings grow this year in a way we haven't seen in the past few years. If you look at this graph, if you follow along with us, you've seen this before. Those colored lines down on the bottom, the blue, the yellow, the red, and orange, those are the past few years, 2021 through 2024, where we've seen inventory go. Definitely starting out low, but growing as the year comes on. Of course, we had the anomaly in 2020. That's the white line you're seeing. But look at that green one right there. That's the beginning of 2025, where we are already starting to see more listings on the market, meaning more options for buyers. This is great news as we get into the spring market, as people are starting to feel like, okay, maybe this is my moment. If there's more homes to choose from, we saw over 70% of people pause their search last year. Affordability was certainly a challenge. But finding a home was definitely one of those challenges too. Now you can see in this graph right here, the green line is rising. It's above the last few years, but it's below those gray bars at the top, or those gray lines. Those are the more normal years in the housing market, 2017, 18, 19. We're not there yet, but we're certainly seeing what I'm hearing a lot of people call those green shoots of spring, with more inventory on the market. Now, let's talk about what this looks regionally, because it is a little different in different pockets of the country. Inventory is improving, but not yet back to normal. So what these blue bars show on this graph is that inventory is rising in all 4 regions of the country. So we're seeing more homes on the market. We're seeing those active listings rising year over year. But compared to pre-pandemic, it's still tight. And it's tighter in some places than others. So Midwest, Northeast, you can see those red bars, still nowhere near what we had in pre-pandemic levels of inventory, but we're getting closer in the South and the West. That's what you can see as you look at this graph. So overall, inventory is up about 27.5% compared to this time last year, if you look at that nationally, but still almost 23% below pre-pandemic levels. So more options for buyers for certain, whether they're first-time buyers or move up, like we talked about. But inventory is still, it's still tight. We're still seeing that inventory is expected to rise this year. Experts are forecasting about 10 to 15% increase, which is going to be a really, really positive thing for those who are looking for that home to find. Now, what does this mean for the market? Let's talk about what Danielle Hale from Realtor.com says. She says, we are beginning to see green shoots in the market as sellers grow tired of waiting for significant changes in interest and mortgage rates. Sellers are kind of feeling that pent-up demand, right? If these trends continue for the next few months, we could see a market that is entering into more balanced terrain with rising inventory and a potential future slowdown in price growth. So as inventory rises, it creates more choices for buyers. That's definitely a good thing. And it also slows price growth. We talk about this kind of concept of supply and demand quite a bit. As inventory rises, it slows the pace of price growth. So let's talk about what rising inventory means for prices in the market. Now, home price appreciation is decelerating right now. This is a look at year over year percent change in home prices going all the way back to 2021. We all remember 2021, 2022, when home prices were rising exponentially. That's what you see over on the left side of this graph, where home prices were rising at a very, very rapid pace, faster than what you would expect in a normal market. Well, fast forward to where we were. This goes through the end of 2024. Home prices are still rising, but at a much slower, more sustainable, more normal pace. And that's really good for the housing market. That's kind of the stability we've been looking for. We want these assets to be continuing to appreciate, but not exponentially, not out of control. This is great news for the market and for your business as well. As home prices continue to rise, but they return back to that normal pace. That's a really, really good thing. And it's something that you want to be talking to your buyers about, who might be remembering home prices accelerating rapidly a few years ago and thinking, well, there's just no way I'll ever be able to buy. As the market starts to normalize, as more inventory comes back in, that pressure starts to ease. And that's exactly where we are right now. And it's where we're expected to continue heading. If you look at this quote from Freddie Mac, it says, in 2025, we expect the pace of house price appreciation to moderate from the levels seen in 2024, while still maintaining a positive trajectory. So home prices expected to keep going up. We still have that upward pressure on prices, but not that exponential rate. And if you look at what the experts are saying about the home price forecast for this year, you've seen this before. These are the 22 forecasters that we follow. that are showing that home price appreciation should be somewhere in the 2.5%, 3% range. If you look at the vast majority of these forecasters, they're saying somewhere between 3 and 4% appreciation. That's definitely more normal. It's more sustainable. And it's really important for your buyers to understand what's happening with prices, where they may be able to step back in a way they didn't think they could before. So we're going to keep our eyes on this, on what's happening with inventory, on what's happening with prices. But what we know right now is inventory rising is going to help moderate price growth. Really, really important conversation to be happening with anyone you're talking to who might be considering buying, or especially if they paused their plans last year and they said, you know what, this is just too much for me. Let's talk about what this year means, because it's a different conversation. And now you have the visuals to show exactly what that means. Now, let's talk about the flip side. What does this mean for sellers? So Hannah Jones from Realtor.com says, with more choices available, buyers can afford to be more selective, putting pressure on sellers to price competitively. I think that's the reality right now. Homes are still selling. Homes that are priced right are definitely still flying off the shelves. But at the same time, sellers can't just put any price tag on a home anymore. This based on how we've seen the market change over the past few years. And actually, we're seeing that sellers are lowering their asking price right now. Listings with price cuts have increased this year. So this is a look at February, the month of February, how many listings had price cuts in February of 25 versus 24, 23, going all the way back to 2017. So what I'm seeing right here is definitely more price cuts are happening right now than we've had over the past few years. But the good news is it's returning to more normal levels. We talk about this a lot, is that this isn't an out of control level of price cuts. It's just getting back to what's pretty typical. You can see that compared to the first few bars on this graph on the left. So what it means is that homes that are priced right are selling, but your sellers need your expertise more than ever to understand what is that target price. What is it that they are looking for? And this is a great opportunity to set expectations. When you talk about what inventory looks like and you show sellers, your house is still going to be in demand, but let's talk about what's realistic and how you can be the expert in that conversation. Open that door and talk about that all day long, because you can really show sellers opportunity and know that they don't have to make a price cut if they do it right out of the gate. And that's the guidance that you want to be giving people so they can really understand what's ahead, what to expect, all those different things. So inventory is rising. We've talked about that. We've talked about how prices are moderating. But what about mortgage rates? Because I think mortgage rates are the thing that kind of helped, or I wouldn't say helped, that sort of slowed the market down significantly over the past few years. Everybody wants to know what's ahead and what does that mean? So Selma Hepp from CoreLogic says, with the spring home buying season upon us, the recent improvements in mortgage rates may help invite home buyers back into the market. That is exactly what we're seeing right now. We've seen a little bit of easing pressure on mortgage rates since the beginning of the year. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment, but we're also seeing that start to bring people back into the mix. Now, if you look at where mortgage rates have gone since the beginning of this year, this goes all the way back to the beginning of January. It's the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. It's an average weekly rate from Freddie Mac. And you can see we've come down off that peak that was around 7%, and it's very steadily declined. Now, we've seen over the past few weeks, probably a little bit more what we would call stability over a few weeks. We haven't seen a straight line down by any means, and we don't expect to. We talk about mortgage rate volatility all the time, but we've definitely seen them ease since the beginning of the year and starting to stabilize as we look at the past few weeks. So what does that mean? It means when mortgage rates are more predictable for a buyer or a seller, and they become more comfortable with what's the new normal, then it becomes easier to say, okay, maybe this is our moment. But you need to be helping your clients understand exactly what's happening, both with the education you can deliver through trusted lenders, just making sure that people know What does a declining mortgage rate look like? What does this mean for a monthly payment? How does it impact my process? How do I plan for this? Because here's the truth, like I said a moment ago, it's not going to be a straight line down. We're not going to just continue to see mortgage rates decline, decline, decline. They're the hardest thing to project in the housing market, no doubt. But we still do know that experts expect mortgage rates should start to settle in that 6.5% range as the year goes on. So that's what we're looking for. That's what you can help your clients understand. These visuals really help that for sure. And Sam Cater from Freddie Mac says recent mortgage rate stability is benefiting potential buyers as purchase demand is stronger than this time last year. This is an indication that a thaw in buyer activity could be on the horizon. So we saw mortgage rates ease for a little bit. Could we see them tick back up? Absolutely. We're still expecting that, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but settling down probably closer to that 6.5% range based on what we know today. But what we've seen as mortgage rates have eased a little bit is we've seen mortgage applications rise this year. It's a great sign for the spring market. Buyers are stepping back in. If you look at this going all the way back to the beginning of January, you can see where you can see where mortgage applications really started to tick up. That end of February, early March, we saw even more of a tick up. And that's definitely what we're continuing to watch and follow as we go into the spring market. Now, if you want to look at a few other things that are showing positive signs for buyers jumping back in, we talked about mortgage purchase applications going up. You can see that they've risen about 6% compared to this time last year. So more buyer activity this spring. We're seeing the Redfin home buyer demand index come up about 5% compared to this time last year. That's another good signal. And showing activity, it's up 35% from the start of this year. That's a measure of how many people are going out and they're looking at homes and they're actively in their search. And for that to be up 35% since the beginning of the year, sure, some of that is seasonality as things pick up, but it's definitely a positive sign for going into the spring. So being able to talk to your clients and make sure they understand what these opportunities are. As inventory rises, that creates more choices. As prices moderate, as mortgage rates start to stabilize, they can be more predictable. All these different things are good signs because here's what all of this means. It means that we are going to sell more homes this year. And that's the bottom line. At the end of the day, home sales are projected to be at about 5.1 million by the end of this year based on the current pace. That's certainly more than we saw last year in 2024. I'm not saying it's enough, but if we keep talking about these positive signs, these opportunities for buyers, for sellers, more choices, all of these different things, we're going to see more transactions this year. And I always like to ask this question because 5.1, 4.8, there's a lot of numbers out there. But at the same time, my question to you is how many of those 5.1 million transactions are going to be yours? That's what I want you to be thinking of. What can you do in your business to be able to drive your transactions, your GCI even higher? This is really, really important to think about because it's the conversations you have, the more that you are out there talking with your clients, rolling up your sleeves, doing the work, activating your database. Those are the things that drive this number higher and drive your transactions higher. And so, you've heard us talking a lot this year about conversations. It's the number one thing that you can be doing right now. And a couple weeks ago, we introduced to you our playbook concept where we're starting to put some of these conversations together, giving you email templates and content to share and text messages to send, voicemails to leave, all of those different things. We've got some resources for you, and these are still in test mode right now. But since we chatted last, we've got another playbook out there. So if you're a KCM member and you want a resource to be able to have the best conversations you can with your clients right now, go ahead and scan this code or head over to this link and become a playbook tester. We're going to ask you for feedback. We want to know how it works for you, but we want to give you everything you need to have the best conversations this spring. Because talking about inventory, talking about prices, mortgage rates, buyer activity, all of those things are going to drive your business. And this is a great resource to help you do that. So check it out. Tell us what you think. We want you to have access to that so we can learn exactly what works for you, what you want to see differently, and then bring this to you even better next time. So we've talked a lot about the spring market. We've talked about having the right conversations about, making sure your buyers understand more inventory, all of those different things. And you know why we do this? You certainly do. It's because most agents know what's happening in the housing market. It's the good agents that understand it. They can look at these slides and go, sure, Kate, I get it. That makes sense to me. But it's only great agents that can explain it, and only great agents that will go out and explain it, that will use these visuals, that will, send the emails, have the discussions, sit down with their clients and say, here's what this really means for you. And that's where I want you to have every opportunity possible. So thank you for being here with us. It is always a pleasure to be on the deep dive with all of you. Have a wonderful week. We will see you back here next Monday, same time, same place. And thank you for being with us today.